There is a man named Virgil. He is an elite auctioneer, and right now he is inspecting high-value antiques inside an old house. In the upper-class art world, Virgil is a big name. He can look at an item and tell you exactly what it is made of, where it came from, and which century it belongs to. Basically, he is a walking encyclopedia for priceless art and antiques. Because of that reputation, wealthy families constantly trust him to sell off their unused treasures. This house is one of those jobs, and Virgil is not the easygoing type. He is intensely perfectionistic, easily offended, and obsessed with getting every detail right. If he demands perfection from objects, he demands even more from his own life. He is always seen wearing gloves. He is always dressed neatly. He even dyes his hair so no one can spot a single gray strand. He lives in luxury and everything around him is carefully controlled. But for all that polish, Virgil has one major gap in his life. He has never been married and he has never been close to a woman. In his mind, he simply has not found anyone perfect enough. Then on his birthday, Virgil receives a phone call from a woman named Claire Ibbotson. Claire asks him to evaluate the antiques inside her parents' home, items that might be worth a fortune. Her parents died a year ago, and before he passed, her father left a message saying that if Claire ever wanted to sell anything from the house, she should only trust Virgil. Claire wants Virgil to come to her home so they can speak in person. Virgil explains that the first inspection is usually handled by his assistant, but something about the call makes him curious. Not just about the house, but about Claire herself. Soon after, we see Virgil doing what he does best at an auction. Rare antiques from the 18th century and even earlier are sold for staggering prices. Some pieces are so historic they feel untouchable, like a telescope connected to Galileo, going for an outrageous amount of money.
2,000,007 at 2,700,000 at 2,700,000 euros. Sold.
Then a painting is offered cheaply, and it ends up being bought by an elderly man. As promised, Virgil finally goes to Claire's house. The place is neglected, locked up, and unwelcoming. Still, Virgil waits outside in the rain, soaking wet, because he expects professionalism. But Claire never shows. And then the truth about that elderly buyer starts to surface. The man is actually Billy, someone who works for Virgil. It turns out Virgil has a secret obsession, valuable paintings of women. At auctions, he manipulates the truth, downplaying a painting's artist and real value, just to get it for himself. After the sale, Virgil takes the painting and pays Billy a small cut. Billy, who is an artist himself, keeps hoping Virgil will finally acknowledge his work. But Virgil refuses even to look at Billy's paintings because he considers them worthless. Back in Virgil's luxurious home, his private world becomes clear. Hidden behind a password-locked room is his real treasure. Hundreds of extremely expensive paintings. Every single one of them is a portrait of a woman, and the way Virgil looks at them says everything. To him, these paintings are more than art. They are his idea of the perfect companion, silent, flawless, and completely under his control. And this is where his obsession truly begins. This is the best offer. The next day, Claire calls again. Virgil is furious. In his entire 36-year career, he has never waited 40 minutes for a client, not once. For someone like Virgil, that kind of disrespect feels unforgivable. So he cuts the call short and hangs up. Claire keeps trying to call, but the only person who answers is Virgil's assistant, Lambert. Lambert tells him that Claire has been crying, desperate to speak with him. On her way to meet Virgil, she was even hit by a car, left bleeding and unconscious. Hearing that, Virgil finally agrees to take her call again, though he does so reluctantly. Claire begs for another meeting. Virgil agrees, but instead of going himself, he sends his assistant. That is just how he operates. He keeps his distance from people. In fact, he always wears gloves when touching anything at all, except for paintings. Not long after, curiosity gets the better of him. Virgil decides to visit Claire's house personally. This time, the gate is open. He waits, expecting to finally meet her, but instead he is greeted by Fred, the caretaker of the house. Fred explains that Claire has been running a fever all night and cannot come out. Once again, Virgil feels insulted that she did not inform him directly. Still, Fred insists that Claire wants him to proceed with evaluating the contents of the house, even without her presence. So Virgil steps inside, and what he finds is astonishing. The house is filled with antiques and valuable paintings. It has been abandoned for a year, ever since Claire's parents passed away. She is an only child, unmarried, with no partner and no contact with her extended family. According to Fred, the house holds countless memories for her, but being alone, she has no choice but to sell the items. While inspecting the basement, Virgil discovers something unusual, an old gear with a distinctive shape. He takes it to his friend Robert, who is skilled with mechanical devices. Virgil notices something odd about the gear. The rust is on the top side, when logically it should be underneath due to the damp basement floor. To him, that suggests someone may have flipped it intentionally.
Contradiction. Look, the rust is all along the top of the cogs. That the object plainly hadn't been there for very long.
Claire calls again, asking him to begin cataloging the items. Virgil initially refuses because proper procedure requires a signed contract before any listing begins. Claire promises she will sign on the same day the cataloging starts. As he works, Virgil senses that something is not right. Some objects that were in good condition now appear damaged. Others have been moved. He begins to suspect that someone else is inside the house. At one point, Claire calls using Fred's phone and insists that the contract be left on a table since she cannot come out. Then a ladder suddenly falls and the crash can be heard through the phone. That confirms Virgil's suspicion. He is convinced Claire is hiding somewhere inside the house, and he starts searching for her. Meanwhile, he finds another gear similar to the first. Robert examines it and confirms that the material and mechanism match. Both pieces appear to belong to the same system. Now Virgil is deeply intrigued. He wants to know what kind of machine these parts once belonged to, and just as much, he wants to understand the mysterious woman behind the walls. Virgil even invites Fred out to dinner, paying him just to learn more about Claire. She is about 27 years old. Fred has worked for her family for 11 years. Yet he admits he barely knows her. In fact, he has never even seen her face. The reason, he says, is that Claire suffers from a strange and isolating condition. The next day, Virgil is back at the auction house, once again listing a painting at a suspiciously low starting price. This time, both Billy and an elderly woman raise their hands for the highest bid at the same moment. As usual, Virgil tries to steer the sale toward Billy, but the woman protests, insisting she raised her hand first. Other bidders notice it too, and Virgil is forced to sell the painting to her instead. Afterward, he scolds Billy for being too slow. Only then does he reveal the truth. The painting is actually an authentic work by Petrus Christus, worth up to 8 million euros. A masterpiece just slipped through his fingers. The following day, Virgil visits Robert. Robert is casually spending time with two women, even though he already has a girlfriend. That is just who he is, always moving from one woman to another. Meanwhile, he has been studying the mysterious gear. According to Robert, it was created by Vaucanson in the 18th century. He believes the gear is part of a mechanical automaton, possibly even a speaking robot. Since Virgil is familiar with Vaucanson's work, his curiosity grows even stronger. Now he wants to find the rest of the machine inside Claire's house. Soon after, Robert's girlfriend Sarah arrives and pulls him away for dinner. The next morning, Claire calls Lambert and asks for Virgil to return to the house. This time, Virgil enters the very room where he once heard her voice, and finally he discovers the truth. Claire has been there all along, hiding inside a secret room behind the wall for 12 years. For most of that time, she barely even saw her own parents. Claire explains that she is afraid of people, just as Virgil is afraid of physical contact, always hiding behind his gloves. She admits that she sometimes walks through the house, but only when no one else is around. She apologizes for making everything so complicated and asks for his understanding. She fully trusts him to determine the value of her family's belongings. She wants him to leave the contract on the table so she can sign it later. That day marks the final inspection of the antiques. Virgil instructs his team to collect any additional gears or unusual mechanical parts they find. The contract is eventually signed. Claire asks for his help filling out her personal information using her passport. At one moment, she watches him through a small hole in the wall. Unexpectedly, she comments on his dyed hair, criticizing the insecurity behind it. That remark hits him personally. For someone so proud of control and perfection, it stings.
So that they won't even poke their nose outside the door.
As he prepares to leave, Fred hands him a key to the house, explaining that he will soon stop working there. By now, the pile of mechanical parts has grown significantly. Virgil confides in Robert that Claire suffers from agoraphobia, a deep fear and anxiety of open spaces. On one hand, he feels exhausted by her complications. On the other, he cannot deny his growing empathy and curiosity. More than anything, he wants to know what she truly looks like. In fact, he becomes so invested that he stops dyeing his hair and allows it to turn natural, simply to meet her expectations. Strangely, after that, Claire becomes unreachable for days. Fred is also sick and unable to deliver food to her. Worried, Virgil decides to bring food to the house himself. It turns out Claire had fallen sick and even fainted. yet she still refused to open her bedroom door.
Claire, open the door. You need to see a doctor!
While Virgil is in the painting room, she suddenly calls him. She thanks him for everything he has done and says she is feeling better now. Claire explains that she wants to sell the house because it is simply too big for her. She dreams of starting over somewhere smaller, somewhere new. But there is one problem. With her condition, she has no idea how she would even step outside. Virgil gently suggests that she take time to think it through. Later, he learns that Claire is actually a novelist, though she never uses her real name in her books. That only deepens the mystery around her. Virgil finds himself confiding in Robert again, admitting how curious and drawn he has become. Robert encourages him to find a way to finally see her in person. Meanwhile, the scattered machine parts are slowly coming together. The structure begins to take shape, and at one point it even produces faint whispering sounds. On that same day, Virgil double-checks that everything listed in the catalog matches Claire's wishes. Before leaving, he pretends to walk out, but secretly stays behind. That is when, for the very first time, he catches a glimpse of Claire. Overwhelmed, he quickly calls her so she can avoid being seen. Around the same time, Billy manages to recover the $8 million painting by persuading the elderly buyer and paying her 250,000 euros. He does not even want payment in return. He simply wants to please Virgil. Virgil then delivers more mechanical parts to Robert before returning to Claire's house, only to discover that the locks have been changed. He waits across the street at a cafe and tries calling Claire, but she does not answer. While sitting there, he notices a small woman who constantly mutters numbers to herself. Eventually, he sees Fred leaving the house and rushes over to get inside. Apparently, Claire changes the locks every 6 months. Fred hands Virgil a new key. Virgil begins encouraging Claire to try stepping outside, warning her that she cannot spend her entire life hidden away. Claire shares a painful memory. As a child, whenever her parents took her outside, her body would freeze. There is only one place where she has ever felt calm, a restaurant in Prague called Night and Day. The mechanical robot is nearly complete now. Virgil admits that Claire is truly beautiful. With her birthday only 2 days away, Robert suggests giving her flowers. Fred continues bringing Virgil more machine parts, knowing how fascinated he is by them. But just as Virgil prepares to give Claire the flowers, everything falls apart. Claire discovers the low estimated values assigned to her belongings and explodes in anger. She accuses Virgil of being a thief and a fraud. Even though he explains that those are only starting auction prices, she refuses to listen. The atmosphere collapses instantly. Virgil feels irritated and hurt once again. On top of that, he sees Robert with yet another different woman. Later, while Virgil sits alone with a drink, Claire calls him. She is crying and apologizing, admitting that she has been foolish. She confesses that she has never received flowers before. Since Virgil entered her life, she feels as if she has begun to change for the better. Virgil returns to Claire's house to spend time with her, and that night she seems genuinely happy. Among the many paintings inside the house, there is one she refuses to sell, a portrait of her mother. It is clear that some memories are simply too personal to let go. As he prepares to leave, Virgil once again hides behind a statue, unable to resist the urge to see her without being seen. Suddenly, something shatters. Claire steps on broken glass and injures her foot. From his hiding place, Virgil watches her in awe. To him, even that vulnerable moment feels like a work of art, something beautiful and rare. But then he accidentally knocks something over, revealing his presence. In Virgil's mind, what he witnessed was pure beauty, like a masterpiece that cannot be explained, yet holds immense value. Claire, however, is terrified. She calls Virgil, asking him to come to the house. After waiting a while, he re-enters. This time he confesses that he was the one hiding in the room, trying to catch a glimpse of her. Claire is furious and orders him to leave, but almost immediately she regrets pushing him away. She asks him to stay, and for the first time they stand face to face.
I need to see you.
Later, Virgil tells Robert about the encounter. He describes how pale and frightened Claire looked. Robert advises him to move slowly and treat her gently, like a woman who needs patience, not pressure. Virgil takes that advice seriously. He buys her elegant clothes, carefully chosen to suit her. As he expected, Claire looks stunning when she dresses up. She loves the gift. He even buys her makeup, though the results are a little clumsy since she has never worn any before. Somehow, Virgil finds himself wanting to be near her all the time. He even turns down major auction offers from other countries just to stay close. Robert warns him that he may be moving too fast. He suggests taking Claire on a romantic dinner instead. Virgil invites Robert to join them at first, hoping his friend can observe Claire and offer better advice afterward. At the cafe, Virgil once again notices the small woman who constantly murmurs numbers to herself. Then the romantic dinner begins. According to Robert, the way Virgil treats Claire feels natural and sincere. During one of the item inspections, Sarah approaches Virgil. She confesses that she is afraid of losing Robert because of the many women around him. She also mentions that Robert has spoken about a woman named Claire. Hearing that, Virgil becomes unsettled. He abruptly retrieves the unfinished robot and leaves Robert behind without another word. Claire's trust in Virgil continues to grow. Eventually, she invites him into her bedroom. They share a kiss, and in that moment, Virgil promises to help her overcome her illness and to guide her back into the world outside. Since the robot is still incomplete, Virgil returns to Robert to make peace. He explains why he reacted so harshly before. Robert agrees to finish the machine as long as Virgil stops doubting him. Filled with hope, Virgil buys a ring for Claire. But when he goes to see her that day, she is not in her room. In fact, she is nowhere to be found in the entire house. Virgil rushes across the street and asks people at the cafe if they have seen Claire. One man says he spotted a woman matching her description, leaving the house and heading toward the park. Even with help from Fred and Robert, Claire is nowhere to be found. Virgil is so overwhelmed that he completely forgets it is auction day. He refuses to believe she could simply disappear. With her condition, walking away like that makes no sense to him. He is convinced she must be somewhere nearby. Lambert is sent to search every possible location. Even Claire's publisher cannot help, since she writes under a pseudonym. Running out of options, Virgil confides in Billy, the only person he trusts besides Robert. Virgil cannot understand why Claire would vanish, especially when she seemed to be getting better emotionally. But Billy remains skeptical. To him, human emotions are like works of art. They can be forged. Happiness, sadness, hatred, even love can be faked. Consumed by anxiety, Virgil retreats to his secret room, staring at his collection of women's portraits. Then Robert calls with a question. Is it possible there is another hidden space inside Claire's house? That thought pushes Virgil to search the property one more time. This time he checks the attic, and there he finally finds her. Claire reveals the real reason she was hiding. She is afraid of losing Virgil. Years ago, she went on a date at the Night and Day restaurant with her first and only boyfriend. That same day, he was struck by a car and killed. Since then, she has lived in trauma, unable to step outside. Overcome with emotion, Virgil embraces her. Later, he tells Robert that it was the first time in his life he had ever held someone like that. He cannot sleep that night, completely captivated by Claire's beauty. Now he is determined to help her step outside at last. But just as Virgil approaches the house again, he is suddenly attacked and beaten badly. Barely conscious, he calls Claire. Seeing him lying there forces her to confront her fear. She gathers her strength and runs out to him. At the hospital, Virgil sees Claire by his side. In that moment, he is certain she is the love of his life. After that incident, Claire finally seems free from her illness. Virgil invites her into his own home. Aside from his maid, she is the only person who has ever entered his private world. In many ways, they are alike, both reclusive, both uncomfortable around others. Eventually, Virgil shows her his most guarded secret, the hidden room filled with priceless portraits of women. Claire is deeply moved by the trust he places in her. She embraces him and tells him she loves him. The auction catalog for her family's belongings is complete, but when Claire reviews it, she suddenly changes her mind. Living with Virgil has shifted something inside her. She no longer wants to sell the items. She wants everything returned to the house exactly as it was. Virgil agrees without hesitation. He then announces that next week he will host an auction in London. It will be the greatest one of his career and his last. As the event is about to begin, he calls Claire to tell her how excited everyone is and how warmly they are speaking of her. Before everything falls apart, Billy comes to see Virgil one last time. As an artist, Billy wants to give him a painting as a farewell gift. For years, Virgil has dismissed Billy's work and refused to even look at it. But this time, Virgil accepts the painting gladly. When he returns home, Claire is not there. The maid assumes she has gone out, just like on previous days, perhaps with Sarah and Robert. Virgil notices the portrait of Claire's mother and decides to place it inside his secret room. But the moment he steps inside, his world collapses. Every single painting is gone. The room is empty. In the corner stands the completed Vulcanson robot built by Robert. The machine delivers a chilling message about how something genuine is always hidden behind forgery. The shock breaks Virgil. He loses his sanity and ends up in a psychiatric hospital. Lambert even visits him there. During his time in the hospital, Virgil's mind keeps replaying everything, especially the moment he lost his entire collection. He remembers the writing on the back of Claire's mother's portrait and realizes it was actually created by Billy. Eventually, he returns to Claire's house, only to find it empty and chained shut. With nothing left to do, he waits at the cafe across the street, just like he used to, hoping to see Claire or Fred again. Once more, he notices the small woman who constantly murmurs numbers. She has an extraordinary memory. And then the truth reveals itself. That woman is the real Claire. She knows exactly how many times Virgil came to the cafe. She counted every single time she saw the fake Claire leave the house. 237 times, which means Claire was never truly sick. She had been stepping outside all along. The house was hers from the beginning. She clearly remembers renting it out to a film production group for the past 2 years. Now they are gone. Virgil considers going to the police, but he cannot. He knows that if he speaks up, his own crimes will be exposed. He manipulated auction prices and falsified the value of priceless paintings. He would be arrested too. In the end, Virgil holds on to one memory, the beauty of that embrace with Claire. He remembers her words in his secret room, promising that no matter what happened, she would stay with him. That is why he keeps hoping she will return to his arms. He calls her again and again, but she never answers. He even moves to Prague, just to sit at the Night and Day restaurant, the place she once said made her feel safe. He waits there, still believing he might see the love of his life again. What Virgil never expected was that he had been trapped inside a robbery so carefully planned and executed that he never saw it coming. So the moral of the story is, if your perfect girlfriend hides in the walls and loves your paintings more than you do, maybe lock the secret room first.